This is September the 8th, and this is part 16 of our study of the ministry of Jesus. When we left off yesterday, we were at Jacob's well, and Jesus was talking to a woman, and she came out at noon with her water pot to draw water, and Jesus said, "Give me a drink," and she said, why would you talk to me? You're a Jew and I'm Samaritan. And Jesus said, if you'd asked me, I'd give you living water, and you wouldn't have to come here anymore. You wouldn't be thirsty again. And so she said, give me that water. And then Jesus replied to her, go call your husband. I want to talk to him. And she said, I don't have a husband. And Jesus said, you said that right. You've had 5 husbands, and the man you're living with now you're not married to. Now at this point, she says, I perceive that you're a prophet. And she wants to change the subject, of course. And she pointed out to him, they could see from where they were, Mount Gerizim. And she said, we worship in this mountain. And the Samaritans had built a temple on top of Mount Gerizim. And that's where they went and worshiped. And she said, in this mountain is where we worship, and you said we ought to worship at Jerusalem. Then Jesus says something profound. He said, an hour is coming, and now is, when men will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Profound. Now listen, that means that our worship to God is inward and not outward. It is not some ceremony we go through. It is not something we do. It is from the inside. Singing a song is not necessarily worship, but it can be worship if we take that song inwardly and sing it to the Lord, then it becomes worship. Worship is something we do on purpose, not something that accidentally happens. Worship is giving God the glory that's due him as our Creator, as God. And that's how we need to worship today, in spirit and in truth. And truth, without truth, then the rest of it doesn't make any difference. For instance, there's some that teach that Jesus was not God, he was just a man. Well, that's not true. That's not truth. So you have to worship God in spirit, inwardly, and in truth to have worship really be accepted. Well, the disciples come back now with some food, and a woman leaves her water pot and heads back into town. And the disciples said that they were marveled that he would talk to this woman, since he was a Samaritan and a woman. And they asked him to go ahead and eat something, and he said, I'm not hungry right now. He said, I've had food to eat that you don't know anything about. Then he said, look around. He said, the fields are white, all ready to harvest. I mean, they're ready, they're ripe. It's time to harvest. What does he mean by that? He means there's people all around us that need to hear the gospel so they can be saved. And that's still true today. The fields are still ripe to harvest today. Well, the woman goes back to town, and it's interesting, she goes and tells the men. She doesn't tell the women, she tells the men about Jesus. Said, come see a man, told me everything I ever did. Well, he didn't tell her that, but that's what she thought. This is the reason she was out at noon at the water place to get water, because she didn't come out with the women, because she was kind of a woman that liked the men, and everyone knew it. And why in the world would Jesus take time to stop by and talk to her? Well, he always takes out the individual, and in it they're all the same to him. But look what happens. Because she comes to town, tells the men, they all come out to see Jesus. And they believe Jesus. And it's interesting that Jesus did not work a single miracle here in this place, but the people believed him. That's best. I don't know if that happened anyplace else, but it did here. And so the people after that said to the woman, we believed about Jesus because you told us, but now that we've heard him, we believe because of what we hear. not because of what you said, but because of what we have heard. And so they asked Jesus if he'd just stay, and he stayed 2 days there with them, teaching them. And then he leaves and goes on into Galilee. Well, that kind of concludes our visit with the woman at the well. Beautiful story. Whole town turns out because of this one woman. All right, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day today.